side. So you're seeing it from behind the audience. It's crazy. It's got one button on the front, but it looks okay. We should switch there and make sure Todd works. Yes. All right. Now we just need someone to MC the show.
Well, I was going to give it a try here.
Do you mind standing in front of this middle mic so you're on camera?
I could do that. I'll start the spiel and then let people filter in.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the current meeting of Apple Cider. Is this coming out? Sound good? Okay. We are a nonprofit Macintosh user group who exists to share information about products produced by Apple Computer and related accessories. We have several meetings throughout the month. You're here at our monthly main meeting. We meet here in the Forum Room at East High on the second Wednesday of the month from 7 to 9:30 or so. We also have a smaller meeting on the Saturday following the main meeting. These Q&A meetings are from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the JCC, and our general Q&A sessions in a very casual atmosphere. Apple Cider has a board of directors which meets on the third Wednesday, that's next week from now, from 7:30 until 10 o'clock or so. Any member can feel free to attend that meeting, and we welcome comments from our membership. Please see a board member if you would like specific directions. And if you need to know who board members are, the ladies who take care of the refreshment table are all on the board and can point you to other people who aren't busy doing refreshments. So Bob is one, and you back there? Yeah. And I am one. There's more. Mm-hmm. If you can't make the meetings but still have a question, feel free to visit our online discussion forums. You'll find a link to those at our website, which is at www.applecider.org. Are there any first-timers, and we know there are, with us tonight? We have additional, do we have bookmarks to give these folks? Or?
Yep.
Right. We know we got some visitors. We're very glad to have you, and thank Bob for coaxing you to come for all this time. Meetup.com allows us to publicize the meeting space. Did any of you find us through Meetup.com, or have you seen us on Meetup.com? God found us. All right. Our dues are $30 a year and payable to our treasurer, Steve. Dues fund our refreshments at the main meeting, the cost of renting this auditorium, hardware costs for producing the monthly meetings, the gizmos, insurance, and our annual picnic. If you have a laptop with Wi-Fi access, feel free to bring it to our main meetings. We share East High's bandwidth with the whole room. Sit close for best reception. Now that all that boilerplate is out of the boiler, this is the boilerplate. This is the boilerplate is out of the way. Here's the schedule for tonight's meeting, which I have, but I'm not sure of the order. Todd is going to do highlights of the Consumer Electronics Show. Todd Bernhardt of No Tie Software. Get a sneak peek at the hot new gadgets and gear previewed at CES 2016 in Las Vegas on January 6th through 9th of this year. You might even get your hands on some swag. Also, we have Capturing YouTube Video, a panel discussion with audience participation. Welcome. And are you doing tech software? Okay, tech software overview. Did you bring any self-driving cars? All right. As always, we'll start with our famous Q&A session. Feel free to ask any Macintosh or other Apple product-related questions you like, and we'll attempt to answer it as intelligently. It says here, too.
And possibly even accurately.
Yeah, mostly. Now, I want to mention a couple of things. One is that if you know other people who are into Apple gear of any sort and would be interested in this meeting, please mention it to them. Tell them where we are and when we are, and invite them to come. It don't cost nothing to visit. And the other thing is that next month, the next meeting in March, is going to be our annual business meeting where we have elections. So if you can think of anybody that you would like to nominate for the board or any of the offices, talk to me or another one of the board members. As I said earlier, people are always welcome to visit our board meeting. You're not obligated to join or anything else. You know, it'd be really wild and crazy if the new guys who showed up tonight walked in and swept the board election. You could do it too, believe me. All right. After the Q&A, we'll have a brief report of recent news from the Macintosh universe, followed by a short break to prepare for our main presentation. Refreshments will be available in the hall. Be sure to hurry back. Say what?
Donations are welcome.
Yes, donations. There are little donation cups for the beverages and cookies and things. Be sure to hurry back though, because you won't want to miss any of. Who's the main one afterwards? Is that Todd or you?
He probably has more than I do.
You can do yours after the break then, or before?
Probably after.
Okay. Good enough. You want to go?
Alrighty. Guess we'll start with some Q&A. Anyone have some questions? Lyle has a question. So the iCloud keychain, he's getting a message that comes up on his computer saying it's waiting for an approval. So one of the features of iCloud, which is in your system preferences under iCloud, or on iDevices in the settings app under iCloud, one of the features is iCloud keychain, which synchronizes all your passwords between your devices. As a security precaution, you need to approve a device joining the keychain before it will join the keychain, because you don't want anyone willy-nilly joining your keychain. So what happened is when you set your keychain up, the very first time, you said you wanted another device to approve the request. And apparently you never got a message on the other device. It would have popped up right in the center of the screen with the rest of the notifications. Back then, when you turned iCloud Keychain on for the first time. Yeah. There is a way, and I have to remember how, to get it to resend the request. You can also use a security code. That's not what I want it to do. Do you remember, Todd, offhand, how to resend the request? It can be, yes. So you can also use your security code to enable iCloud Keychain on a specific device. And it's a 4-digit PIN, or you can change it to a more complex passcode if you want, but it starts out as a 4-digit PIN that you create. Then it wouldn't be asking you for it. Or is it asking you to create one or to enter one? So you do have one, and it's asking if you want to use it. So if you hit that option, it's going to ask for the 4-digit PIN you set up when you created your keychain. All right, so somewhere is a way. I would imagine you go into the settings, turn off iCloud Keychain, and then turn it back on again. And it may re-prompt you to send the request to the other devices. On the computer or the iDevice or both. Which is iCloud Keychain turned on either of the devices, or are they both waiting? So the idea is that you type a password on your computer and your phone already knows it, which is handy because a lot of good passwords are long and hard to type, and they're especially hard to type on the little phone keyboard. So if the computer can remember it for you, that would be a lot easier. And then the iCloud keychain passes that password through to your iDevice. Yeah, so go to settings, turn iCloud on. And does it say it's waiting for approval? No, okay, then it is turned on and working on the iPad. So in the Mac, go into System Preferences and then iCloud, and then turn off iCloud Keychain. Maybe even reboot and then turn iCloud Keychain back on, and you should be prompted to, let me just try it now too. You should be prompted to approve the device on another, or approve this computer on another device, or to create your passcode again. And then see if it sends the request, and then the iPad should pop up. All right, now, okay, so what I did on my Mac is I turned off keychain, turned it back on, and now I'm creating my 6-digit security code. Newer OSs have changed it to a 6-digit PIN instead of 4-digit. With 4 digits, there's only 10,000 combinations, and someone with a few hours on their hand could type in every possible 10,000 combination. So with 6 digits, it's 1 million combinations, and that will take a whole lot longer. And then that should then get your keychain syncing between your devices so that all your passwords show up on your iPhone that you created on the computer. And if you ever do create a new password for a new website on your phone, that password can also go into your computer. So it's a nice way to synchronize between the two. But it's one of those things that's a little tricky to set up. Once it's set up, it usually works fine. Yep. Request or requested? Okay, yes. So you want to say yes, and then on the iPad, it should pop up, do you want this computer to, and it will give you the name of the computer to use your iCloud keychain. And the iPad is on, connected to the Wi-Fi, connected to the internet, and yeah. And it's the same Apple ID on both devices. Okay. All right, so now you get the notification. All right. All right, after all that, oh, we have some more visitors. Welcome. Sure. Any other another question? Anything dealing with Macs or iDevices? We'll do what we can. Did we have the there it is. The quarterly report, did that come out, or did we talk about that in January? Apple made more money, January 26th. No, so we haven't talked about that yet. Apple made more money than ever. They sold more things than ever. So it's almost boring. They had $75 billion in revenue, income of $18 billion per quarter. So that, what is that? 6 billion a month, some ridiculous thing like that. So every month someone hands you $6 billion. All right. One thing that is kind of interesting that they keep getting asked about is iPad sales are down year over year. And part of the reason is that they think the iPads are good enough. No one needs to upgrade yet. And that's one of the reasons the iPad Pro came out, to help revitalize the iPad industry with that 13-inch screen and the pencil. There's a lot of rumors that there'll be another announcement coming this March with a 10-inch iPad Air, the iPad Air 3, that should also work with the pencil. possibly a mini that works with the pencil, but that one doesn't seem to have as much credence as the iPad Air. And then also rumors about an iPhone 5SC or SE, depending on which rumor you hear, which is basically the 4-inch iPhone 5 screen size with the guts of the iPhone 6. So it's the faster processor, the better graphics, the better motion. So it's a smaller phone with modern hardware in it. Apple has also seen some cannibalization that if you buy the 5-inch or 5.5-inch iPhone, you may not need to get the 8-inch or 10-inch iPad because it's big enough for you already. How many people saw the 60 Minutes interview with Tim Cook and Phil Schiller? There were some pretty interesting things on there. I forget the interviewer, but he asked, it wasn't Charlie Rose, that's another show. He asked Phil Schiller about the cannibalization. You know, people aren't buying things, and Phil said, well, that's sort of by design, that you get an Apple Watch so you don't have to look at your phone as much. You get a phone so you don't have to look at your iPad as much. You get an iPad so you don't have to look at your laptop as much. You get a laptop so you don't have to look at your desktop as much. And then the analogy breaks down. You have a desktop so you don't need a Mac Pro. So every new device we get tends to fit into our lives and make us not use the other devices as much. You know, since I've got my iPad, I hardly ever use the laptop. Generally, it's only for meetings like this where I'm audio recording and video recording and streaming, and I can do all that on the iPad, but not all at the same time. So it's using the laptop is getting to be less common because the iPad can do almost everything. And now that the iPad Pro's got a big enough screen, and a little annoyingly costs the same price as a 13-inch MacBook or 13-inch iPad with a keyboard, you're looking about $1,200-$1,300 with the same 128 gig storage. So you go for the touch screen on the iPad or the traditional Mac OS on the laptop. But for productivity, for word processing, everything works pretty much the same. In fact, Todd with his iPad with his keyboard there, it looks like a laptop. It's almost what the netbook products were a few years ago when the PC industry tried to come out with a very small laptop at a very cheap price. It was woefully underpowered and couldn't do very much. And so the netbook didn't really gain any traction. And that's when Apple came out with the iPad originally, that they rethought the whole issue. And so it was the functionality of a netbook for web and mail and photos and the stuff most people use for only $500 at the time. In fact, Jobs even made a joke about it, that all the rumors on the internet at the time was it was going to be $1,000 machine. And so Jobs started to slide out as $999. He said, well, no, wait, we're going to roll that in $499. All right. So joking with the internet rumors. So it's interesting to see how the product lines have moved, and how things aren't getting replaced as often. A laptop you may replace more often, but the iPad you may not replace as often. So we're starting to see that the iPad refresh cycle might be 2 or 3 or 4 years before you buy a new iPad and pass the other one down to the family. Any other questions? There was a question, Carol, from the Meetup group. She didn't make it here. I saw it go through, but I haven't had a chance to answer it yet. She's someone has a G4 and is trying to get it up and running again, and is having trouble on websites. How many people? I see a black MacBook. That's a nice oldie but goodie. The black plastic was $100 more than the identical white model. Just in case, yeah. Oh, a silver one in a black shell. Okay. Anyone remember the old plastic MacBooks? Oh, I forgot. Thank you, Rick. Just tested me from the from home that I have to change the camera so you can see me talking online. Thank you, Rick. And as soon as you catch up with that. There is a web browser for very old computers called 10.4 Fox. The problem you run into on the websites is that modern websites are doing fancy stuff with web code and videos and graphics and animation. And older web browsers on System 10.3 and 10.4 and 10.5, things like that, don't work that well. And in fact, many web browsers, Google and Firefox, are starting to complain that if your browser is too old and you're logging into Gmail, it will tell you that it doesn't work right. And so there is a web browser called 10.4 Fox. It is based on Firefox, and it's designed for computers running 10.4 system versions. And so if you have an older computer, you can still run a relatively newer operating system, System 10.4, on a PowerPC, the G3s and G4s. And there is also a version for people still running OS 8 or OS 9, if you really are running an ancient computer. But one of the things we're seeing is it's not that cost effective to try to put money into that older computer to try to get it up and running. And a lot of people want to add memory. They'll put in bigger hard drives just to get it to run a modern website. That you get an iPad, $269 for a brand new iPad Mini, and that does modern web and photos and mail and news and pretty much everything you want a computer for. So even then, we're seeing the iPads are replacing older computers. Although it is nice to get one of the old computers working around. We had a customer this week that asked if we had a battery for a Power Mac G3 from 1996. We had them in 1996. Yeah, 20 years and it's still running. So it's amazing testament to the early hardware quality Apple had. There was some spots in the 90s there where the computers weren't all that good, and there were too many models for a while. So when Steve Jobs came back in 98, was it? One of the first things he did was eliminate most of the models, and break it down into consumer and pro, desktop, and laptop. So broke it down into basically 4 models. It used to be there were 10 different models at Sears and 10 different models at Best Buy, and it was very confusing. They had education models, they had consumer models, and they had electronic models, and very, very interesting overlap between them. The idea was if we have them in more stores, we'll sell more. That didn't work. Yes.
Chat thing on for people watching from home.
Yes, if you're watching from home, and we do have Rick watching from home, we are broadcasting live on YouTube. On the Apple CIDER website, down on the right-hand side is the live video stream and video archive. So you can watch the meetings live if you can't make it. You can re-watch them after the fact on our YouTube channel. And we're grateful for YouTube for allowing all this to be free. It used to be hundreds of thousands of dollars for a video studio, and tens of thousands a month for streaming bandwidth, and now it's pretty much all free. And
is the chat part on now?
The chat is available. I'm not looking at it at the moment, but the chat is there, so I can say hi. And other people that are watching, we have 3 people watching. Nice. Is Jim here? I know Rick is at home. Jim sometimes watches from home. Jim's in Florida? Jim's in Florida. He might be watching from Florida. Hi, Jim. All right, another question? All righty. Shall we move on, I guess? I think it's me again, isn't it, News? Talked a little bit about the Apple quarterly earnings and the rumors of the March event. Anybody else hear anything new and cool happening in the industry? We're always waiting for rumors. And as Todd's going to talk about later, CES shows us all the things that are going to be coming maybe by this Christmas, sometimes next Christmas. That's one of the jokes at CES is you see the same thing 2 or 3 years in a row before it actually hits the market.
There was an article I saw about Apple devices that had been repaired by third parties. And Apple was blocking some functions on those. I'm not sure what it was.
There is in the industry a push toward. Well, it's sort of the fight between the manufacturers and third-party repair companies. And iFixit is one of the big companies. Let's see if I get the banner showing up. Nope. So Apple publicly acknowledged a something called the Error 53, that's been running its way through the tech community for a few years now. With the beginning of the iPhone 5S that had the fingerprint reader, your fingerprint data is matched between the fingerprint reader and a secure enclave on the motherboard. And if a third-party company replaces your screen or replaces your home button or something like that, replaces the fingerprint reader, then the fingerprint reader and the secure enclave don't match, and your phone assumes it's been stolen and turns itself into a brick. We call that bricking the phone. And that was almost intended so that if someone steals your phone, they can't get into your data without your fingerprint or your finger. And so what they're doing is they don't want a bad guy to be able to use his fingerprint reader, put it on your phone, and get all your data. So by having a mismatch between the fingerprint reader and the fingerprint data, it's basically assuming it's been stolen. So third-party companies that have replaced the fingerprint sensor, and then the customer's phone gets bricked, they'll go to Apple, and Apple says it was an unauthorized repair because it wasn't performed by an authorized retailer. The Apple authorized retailer repair centers can get genuine Apple parts and can rematch the secure enclave with the fingerprint reader. In fact, it's a pain in many parts of the anatomy. When we do an iPhone repair, that we have to make sure all of the serial numbers inside the phone, the display, the logic board, the battery, all the serial numbers have to match to make sure it wasn't a third-party repair with possibly fake parts. That's the other problem in the repair industry, is you can buy really cheap parts online from China, and they may be crappy parts. There was a big problem a few years ago with counterfeit AC adapters for iPhones that could shock people, and there was a woman in China who was actually killed when she got out of the shower and answered her phone. So that not entirely Apple's fault if you pick up an electric device when you're wet. But Apple did offer a free replacement of a genuine Apple adapter if you had one of the counterfeit ones. And they actually are running a repair program now. If you bought the World Kit adapter, which was common for laptop users who travel around the world, every country has its own different plug to plug into the wall. So the Apple's World Kit adapter has like 10 different plugs in it to run in most countries in the world. There is a possible malfunction in some of the heads, and so Apple is offering a repair program to replace those. So if you have a World Kit adapter, probably Google Apple World Kit repair, and we'll find the news about the replacement in here somewhere. So it's one thing to keep in mind when you're plugging things in. So the big news that Charlie had mentioned is that Apple publicly acknowledged this Error 53. And saying it's because it's assuming the phone is stolen because it's got an invalid part. So there's a bill, well, it's not quite a bill. What do they call it? The Right to Repair. Righttorepair.org. Yeah. So there's a grassroots organization trying to get a bill through. They're working with state senators and also trying to go federal too, to require companies to allow third-party people to buy parts. Same sort of thing happened in the car industry in the 50s and 60s. So now you can buy car parts from any manufacturer. You don't have to get them from the OEM. But the security involved with the fingerprint reader is probably where Apple's going to try to make sure that can't be bypassed so easily. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the woman who got killed, it's limitation of liability that the assumed liability that you don't pick up an electric device when you're wet. Drop the toaster in the bathtub and then sue the toaster company. But the phone was plugged into the wall with a fake charger. counterfeit charger. In fact, I saw a blog of someone tore apart an Apple charger and the counterfeit charger, and the electronics inside the Apple, the little tiny, well, that's not, it's the big for the laptop. The little tiny brick that you charge your phone with, there is a ton of circuitry in there. And one of the things is the high voltage to low voltage transfer. You plug it into the wall, it's 120 volts. It goes into your phone and it's 5 volts. So there's a gap between those two circuits that do that transformer. And in the cheap knockoff versions, there's almost no gap, or sometimes there is no gap at all, to make it very easy to get shocked when you pick the thing up. But that's how they can sell them for $3 on Amazon instead of $20 for Apple's. So the question is, if someone removes the fingerprint data, can they put it on another phone? As it is, no. You cannot get to the fingerprint data itself. That's stored in the secure enclave, they call it. But the fingerprint reader will say yes or no. Yes, this is the right fingerprint, or no, this isn't the right fingerprint. So if the bad guy has a fingerprint reader that says yes, then the secure enclave will unlock the phone and access to the contacts and whatever apps are on the phone. So as a security precaution, using your fingerprint is better than a PIN code. Unfortunately, from a legal standpoint, you can be compelled by law to provide your fingerprint. So if the police want to unlock your phone, they can compel you to produce your fingerprint. But the courts have decided that have ruled over the years that you cannot be compelled to divulge a passcode, because that's Fifth Amendment. And it actually goes back to safes. If you have a safe with a passcode, you cannot be compelled to provide the passcode. But if you have a safe with a key, you can be compelled to produce the key, because the key is a physical object. You're not incriminating yourself. So what some people have talked about is put a fingerprint, use your fingerprint reader and a long passcode, and then when the cop wants you to put your fingerprint on it, do it wrong too many times, and then it locks, and you have to put your passcode in. No, a thumbprint is something that you can be compelled to provide by court order. But a memorized passcode cannot be compelled under Fifth Amendment. Turn it off real quick before the cop gets to you, because when you turn your phone back on again, you have to put in the password with the keyboard. Not if it's been turned off. With the first time when you turn it on after being off, you must enter your actual passcode on the screen. Yeah. So it's interesting how we're seeing there's a TV show, This Week in Law, not TV show, podcast. It's an internet TV show on the This Week in Tech network, and they talk about these type of legal issues and cases that come up, and it's kind of interesting to see how the legal ramifications and how the law is trying to catch up to technology. In fact, in California and New York, bills have been put into state assembly to require manufacturers to be able to unlock smartphones, so that if the police confiscate your phone and you don't turn over your password, they want Apple and Samsung and Motorola, et cetera, to be able to break the encryption and give the police your data. As it stands now, if you're running OS 8 or higher, your phone is encrypted, and they cannot decrypt it without your password. And so if this law passes, the options are Apple will stop selling phones in New York, or Apple will have to change the operating system, and the bad guys won't upgrade. And that's generally what happens. Is encryption is here and available now. It's free to use, and if laws change to require a backdoor in the encryption, the bad guys just won't use the new software. They'll use the old stuff that still works fine.
Any comments on that situation with the FBI and the phone from the San Bernardino shooters, except that it's encrypted and they can't get it?
That one I hadn't heard, but I did hear the Paris bombings. All the phones they found were not encrypted at all, and so it didn't matter in that case. From what we hear from law enforcement people who are familiar enough with the way that the technology works, there are other ways to get the data. You can subpoena the cell phone company and get the call logs and who was called and how long, without actually getting that data on the phone itself. So there's ways around it without actually needing to have the phone decrypted.
So does this mean that when the FBI says it's stumped, they're able to get the call logs from the phone company, but not other data in the phone?
Right. So they'll know the numbers that were saved, but they won't necessarily be able to look up notes or and email. They can subpoena Google or Time Warner to get your email, so it doesn't matter what email is on the phone. And a lot of times your notes are stored in your email account. And so with the theory is with the right court order, law enforcement can get the data. The problem becomes, and the way these bills are written so that law enforcement can decrypt the data, who's law enforcement? Monroe County Sheriff or Chinese national government? They're both law enforcement. And so it makes the matters even murkier when you think about the international scope of it as well. Alrighty. Any question, Bob? Yeah, the hoverboards. Yeah, so that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about knockoffs. So the hoverboards they don't hover, which is really annoying. It's a self-balancing skateboard, basically. It's a Segway without a handle. And there was a company that made a decent hoverboard for a couple $100, and then hundreds of Chinese companies started knocking them out for $50. And in the cheap knockoffs, the batteries weren't that good a quality, and so there were a lot of stories about hoverboard batteries exploding, catching fire, causing damage, and the media never made a distinction between the good models and the cheap models, and so a lot of not companies. I think New York City Subway tried to ban hoverboards. It is already an issue in lithium batteries in your laptops and your cell phones. It has to be marked and disclosed for shipping carriers before it can be shipped as cargo. And most of the time, if you have a lithium battery to ship, it has to go by ground because they don't want airplanes crashing. I guess it's okay if the truck burns up. I guess one truck full of stuff costs less than an airplane full of stuff. But lithium batteries are inherently dangerous. It's a little tiny box full of power that you want to run your device, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. And so there's a lot of stuff online about especially the hoverboards, because that's the latest thing on the battery safety. But there have been issues with Mac laptop batteries, camera batteries. As they age, they can start to swell. In fact, one of the symptoms you may notice on your Mac is the trackpad button stops clicking because the battery underneath has been swelling and pushing up on the bottom of it, so now the button doesn't move anymore. And so as your batteries age, they can start to swell. Theoretically, well, the better made batteries don't burst, but some of the cheaper ones can burst open, spill the lithium contents out, and some of them can even then catch fire. and your computer is often full of flammable material, so that's not a thing either.
Is there any difference in the risk of that fire with a lithium battery in terms of whether it's fully or nearly fully charged versus discharged or nearly so?
Not really. Or I don't know for sure, but I don't think so. Because as the lithium batteries age, their runtime decreases. So when a battery is new, it will last 5 hours. 100% means 5 hours. A 5-year-old battery, 100% may mean 1 hour. And so we get these questions at our store. Someone brings in and says, you know, the battery drops from 100% to 0 in an hour. Well, yeah, because 100% is now 1 hour. And you wait a couple more years, 100% is 5 minutes. So it's still 100% charged, but it doesn't have as much energy in it as it did in the beginning.
Is there a number of cycles at which you should replace your battery?
Is there a number of cycles on the battery? There is an estimated cycle life of batteries, lithium batteries, in the Apple laptops, especially in the unibody models that have sealed battery on the inside. It's generally about 1,000 cycles. And it will, how does it work? At 1,000 cycles, it should retain 80% of its original capacity. If you go into your system preferences, not system preferences, system information, under power, it will tell you how many, I don't need a new version of Java at the moment. It will tell you how many cycles you have on your battery. So I've got 54 cycles on my battery. I know that's kind of small. Part of the issue is I don't use the battery much. I try to plug in as often as I can. So even though this computer is almost 3 years old, there's only 54 cycles on it. So you can have a low cycle count, but a long age, and the battery can be dead. Or you can have a high cycle count. I saw one the other day that was 1,700 cycles, and it was 2 years old, depending on how often you charge and discharge. So a cycle is completely charged to completely discharged. And so depending on how often you run it on battery, you can run up your cycle count and can prematurely age the battery if you're constantly plugging and unplugging it. Although it doesn't have the memory effect that the older nickel cadmium batteries did. So if you run your battery for an hour and then plug it back in, that doesn't count as a cycle. That's only at the percentage. So you run it for 10 minutes or 10%, you run it for another 10%, that's only 20% of a cycle. So it's not something that you have to pay too much attention to. Usually you'll notice the battery wearing out because it doesn't last as long as it used to. Yeah, phones are interesting. The phone will go to sleep when it's not being used. And so there's something that's been called butt dialing, where you put the phone in your back pocket and it dials someone. It's interesting to know how it can do that, because when you wake your phone up, you either have to put your fingerprint on it, and so most people haven't registered their butt cheek as a fingerprint, or you have to slide it to unlock it, and then type a code in, and then make a phone call. So how can you butt dial on an iPhone or any modern smartphone that you have to do all that to unlock it with? And on the old flip phones, you just push a button and it would dial. No, it's not a power cycle, it's a charging cycle. So you plug it in and run it to full charge, and then you use it until it's discharged, and then you plug it in and charge it again. That's one cycle. So it doesn't matter how often you turn it on and off, it's just how often you charge it to full capacity. That's 90% of a cycle. So a cycle is 100% drained to charged. Yeah. So, and most people like to keep it charged all the time, so when they are away from power, it can last as long as it can. And there's a new feature in is it in the OS or just the phones? The super low power mode. I think it's an OS 9 feature, where if your battery's getting low, you can go into super power mode or power saving mode, and it will turn off. It's pretty much everything that that you could do yourself. Turn off Bluetooth, turn off location, turn off things that use power, and you can get another couple hours out of your battery. So if normally it would only last say half an hour, you turn on this low power saving mode, and you can get another couple hours out of it to make it through that last meeting of the day. So with Apple's devices, it does not matter if you leave them plugged in. When it gets to full charge, it actually, when it gets about 95% and then starts doing a trickle charge for the rest of it, so it doesn't ever overcharge it. In other devices, there can be a danger of overcharging, and if you have cheap knockoff power chargers, it may not have that trickle charge option built into the circuitry, so it may not be a good idea to do that. All right, I think that should do it for questions for now.
If your voice is going to hold up, is that our time to go to the tax stuff?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay.
Too many things in my pocket. Sometimes I envy women that have purses, so you can hold more stuff. But I'm not going to wear a fanny pack. I always ask my wife to carry stuff for me. Okay, so we're coming up to tax season. Has anybody got their taxes done yet? No. Yeah. So doing your taxes every year is very annoying, and so there's a lot of software that has come out to help you do your software. So the two main programs are TurboTax from Intuit and TaxCut from H&R Block. A lot of them have sort of been bought and merged and come together. And for the last couple of years, what most or both of the companies have been doing is you can do a free 1040EZ or 1040A federal, and then often get a free state as well. So it's a very what's the word I want? A lot of people are drawn to it because it's free. If you have very, very simple taxes, income and expenses, then the 1040EZ or even the 1040A can be easy to use and nice if they're free. If you have anything more complicated than that, or you run a home business or something like that, you may need to go for some of the other higher level versions. TurboTax has 4 different versions available, and this is a nice chart on what services they offer. So if you have more deductions, then you need to go to the more expensive version. And TaxCut is just about the same. TurboTax tends to be the more well-known version from Intuit. One of the things that I've done over the years is I've had the same accountant for something like 30 years now, and I will do one of these online forms just to see what would happen. And in most cases, I get a much better deal and a much bigger refund from my accountant. And some of that is because of these tax deductions that most people don't necessarily know they're eligible for. And property tax and charitable deductions and all this extra stuff that you need to go for the higher versions. Last couple of years, I had a trial of the high-end TurboTax, and it was close. It was about $1,000 less than my accountant got for me. which is nice in the long run, being able to get a bigger refund. So what some people do is they'll start with the free versions and see how it works. One of the really annoying things that I have found with TurboTax is the prices they quote are for a single return. So if you're a family, married filing jointly, that's one return. But if you and your wife file separately, that's two returns. If you're doing your kids' taxes, that could be 3, 4, 5 returns. So that can be a lot more expensive than you would expect for looking at these online versions. So TurboTax still does have what they call a CD or download version. So it's a standalone version that you can buy, and then it will work for any number of returns that you want to do. And so some people like doing it that way better. If you're your family's tax preparer and need to do your spouse's and your kids' taxes as well. Yeah. So next year you can deduct the cost of your tax preparation, which is annoying to pay it now, but nice you can deduct it next year. If you itemize, right. So you have to do, you got to do itemization, you got to do the long form, you got to do Schedule A. And so that is one of the ways to get the highest refund you can, is to go through all that extra mess. What? Yeah. Right. Yep. And in the Premier and Home versions, you can actually call one of their CPAs and ask the question as well. The other caveat, last year, I haven't heard it this year yet, but last year, a lot of crooks were filing fake tax returns. So I can go online and file a 1040 EZ. I can get somebody's social security number. I can make up a social security number, and I can claim your refund. And then when you go to your own tax guy or you fill it out yourself, the form is saying, "Oh, you already filed. You don't get anything." And so TurboTax had a big mess last year. So I don't know how they could tell if it was real or not. But to be able to have people file, so you probably have to file an amended return, and try to prove fraud at the other end. So typical mail fraud where someone fills out a change of address card for you and, "Oh, I moved, so mail my check to this other address." Yeah. Yeah, it's always a pain to get caught by this identity fraud, and it's getting harder and harder to get out of it. And companies like oh shoot, what is it? The guy that puts his Social Security, LifeLock. Yeah, there are companies that will monitor your credit history for you. They will try to prevent fraud and prevent identity theft for a fee. And so the LifeLock guy, owner of LifeLock, has caused some controversy by putting his Social Security number online and in his TV commercials, and his identity gets stolen, almost weekly. And the company does what they can to prevent, the biggest problems. Yeah, if someone transposes a social security number, it's probably somebody else. Yeah. So it's something to keep track of when you is it free credit? There is. You want to keep track of your credit history and credit scores. One of them is, I always forget. One of them is free with a trial. I think it's freecreditscore.com. You are able to call the credit reporting companies, Experian, TransUnion. Yeah, there's three main companies. You can call them and get your credit report free once a year. And there's a couple of websites that will facilitate that. Many of them, though, want you to sign up for their credit reporting services. So finding the one that's really free can be tricky. But it's not a bad idea to keep to keep an eye on your own credit score to make sure someone else hasn't accidentally put your social security number in, let alone actual fraud. One of the biggest sources of fraud that we've seen over the years is pre-approved credit cards. Someone will go through a mailbox. They'll follow the mailman down the street and get a pre-approved credit card in your name and say, "Oh, I moved here. Send it to this address," and suddenly someone else has a credit card in your name. So it's things have been moving into the electronic world that make it easier for the bad guys to hide, and quite often they're outside the country, which makes them very difficult to prosecute, even if you can find them. Which brings up another website, Have I Been Pwned? Pwning is a computer term error. There are so many leaked usernames and passwords from so many data breaches that we always recommend using a different password on each site you go to, because you don't know what site might be breached and someone finds your password. There was a big mess at Adobe. Let me put in my work password because that's the one that got breached. Not password, email address. So you put in your email address, and that will tell you if your email address has been lost in somebody's data breach. And Adobe was one of the biggest one. 150 million Adobe accounts were breached. 30 million Ashley Madison. Anyone get caught in the Ashley Madison leak? Anyone want to admit they got caught in the Ashley? Yeah. So if you happen to use the same password you did at Adobe that you do on Amazon, someone can look in that Adobe database list and try Amazon and PayPal and Citibank and all your other, or Google. They can get into your email. Then they can go to Amazon and say, "Forgot my password, email me at Google." And so you'd never want to use the same password on more than one site because you can't control the other end getting breached and losing your credentials. So it may not have anything to do with how good or how bad your password is. You can have a really, really good, strong password, but if the other end loses it, then it doesn't help you any. So is keychain invulnerable to hacking? No. It is generally good for all but what we call social engineering. Someone calls you on the phone and says, "Hi, this is Steve from Apple. There's a problem on your computer. What's your password?" And more often than not, people will give up their password. Have I been pwned? P-N-P-W-N-E-D. So put your email addresses in there and see who's lost your email account. So your keychain password. So all of your passwords stored in the keychain are stored under your master administrator password. So if someone gets your administrator password, they can get into your keychain. So you want to have a good administrator password. That's the one password you want to have strong and long, and remember it. Don't forget your admin password, or you lose all your other passwords too. Theoretically, yes. So one of the big scams going around going around now is fake tech support. You'll get a well, it used to be phone call, but now they're actually popping up messages on your screen that you've got a virus, your system may be compromised, something like that, and you call the phone number, and they want to. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. They want to remotely connect to your computer in order to clean you out, and they do. They clean you out. So while they're connected to your computer, they have full access as if they were sitting in front of it. So they can open files, they can look at things. A lot of times they're very fast, so you don't know what they're doing. But we've heard from our customers who said, yeah, they were taking forever, so I just went to bed. No, but they can watch you type your password. They can ask you for your password. They'll say to when you start that connection, they'll say they need your password, and they can watch anything you type, and then they've got your password, and they can open stuff on the other end. Apple iCloud and Amazon, yeah, most of the big companies. So two-factor authentication is used on a lot of sites now, Apple and Amazon, Google, PayPal. Social Security doing it too? Good. So when you log into a site on a computer, Citibank, not Citibank, well, I think Citibank, but Canandaigua National Bank that I use has it too. So the first time you log in on a new device, it asks you for that second factor. They'll send a text to your cell phone to make sure that's really you logging in. And then you can tell it to remember this browser so that you don't have to type it every time. Although the more security conscious people will put their second factor in every time they log in to Google or to Amazon or to PayPal, because you don't want someone else sitting down at your computer and then being able to log in. One of the big threats we see a lot too is like Starbucks or Panera. You're at a public Wi-Fi. You go to refill your coffee, and someone takes that 30 seconds at your computer, gives themselves a username, or can install malicious software, and then suddenly they have control of your computer too. So when you are on a website to log into a service, I will just say add account. I mean, I'm trying to mimic this. When you are logging in somewhere and you're creating a account, one of the features of iCloud Keychain, so going back to what Lyle was talking about earlier, iCloud Keychain is you can have Safari generate a password. It's like 25 characters long, uppercase, lowercase, symbols. You have no hope of remembering it, but you don't need to remember it because the computer's going to remember it for you. And I just realized I turned iCloud Keychain off earlier, so it's not prompting me now. So then it will generate this really long password and save it in the keychain, so you don't have to remember it. And it's very long and very secure to make it easy, to make it good for other people not guessing it as well. When you type your own password in, the browser can recognize you're typing a password and ask if you want to save it in Safari. I'm sorry, save it in the keychain. And some websites are designed to prevent you from saving passwords. So it does not give you that option to save the password, primarily because it is technically a security flaw, that if you save your passwords, someone who sits down at your computer and has your main password, or your hint is the password, can get in to see your keychain as well. So in some cases, you can say never store the password, and in some cases, the website won't let you store that password. Yeah, so that website must be set to not allow password saving, or it doesn't know that's a password field. You can, yes, you can open the keychain and make a new item yourself. So I can hit the little plus sign at the bottom here to make a new password item. And you can give it a name, the account you're logging into, and the password you want to use. And the little padlock icon will generate a password for you if you don't want to have to think of it yourself. And so you can enter saved passwords. You can also do secure notes. So if you just want to have, like a sticky note, just a secure encrypted note of information that could be other passwords or bank account numbers or social security numbers, things that you don't want anyone to be able to see. Yep. Google. So do other browsers read keychain? Google Chrome does. Firefox has its own saved password list internal to it. I don't believe it can use keychain. Yeah, Google Chrome will save things into the keychain as well. There isn't a Safari keychain. The keychain is a system feature. So any program can use the keychain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you change your password, one of the things you can put in is a hint. The hint is supposed to remind you what the password is. It shouldn't be the password. It shouldn't be too obvious, my birthday, because then anyone else sitting down at your computer, if you type the password wrong 3 times, it gives you the hint. And so you don't want the hint to be too revealing, but you want it to be revealing enough. And so that kind of depends on what your password is and how well you make the hint. My favorite color. And we've talked about that in the past too. Lie. So security questions, a lot of services use to help you remember your password. So it might ask, what's your favorite color? And you put in Ford because you really like that blue Ford you had. And so when someone else is trying to guess your answers, they'll never be able to guess it because it's not really the answer to the question. So when your password hint, whatever you create for your password, the hint can be how you came up with that password, rather than if you put the password in backwards, that's too easy for someone to notice and just type it forward. Yeah. So say your password is it was the best of times, it was worst of time. You can say Dickens book, and that's a bad password to use because it's a popular phrase. So that's what the bad guys do use. But that can help you figure out or help you remember what you made your password for that service. Alpha only, so it couldn't be numeric. Somebody, I forget what bank it was. So there's a podcast called Security Now that's really good for security issues, and they found a research report, and it went through the top common secure like websites, banks and email and Amazon and shopping sites and things like that, and looked at how secure their passwords were, how many characters it let them use, how uppercase and lowercase, if it allowed you. And they found a couple of services that were just horrible. There was one that allowed a 2-character password. And that means someone wrote, so the usual thought is no one wrote the code to check for a good password. But there was code there. You could not use a 1-character password, but you could use a 2-character password. And that was just ridiculous that this company allows you to do that. Or companies have a maximum of 8 characters in the password. Well, 8's not enough. And that's often because there's an old COBOL database running on a 60s computer in the back room somewhere, storing the data, and that's often where you get maximum passwords. Or I think it was Wells Fargo allowed a 20-character password, but only the first 10 characters were counted. Yeah, so you could put in 20 characters, but it ignored the last 10 and only used the first 10. So it's frustrating, some of the things that companies have been found doing with passwords that aren't that good for security. Yeah, let's go back to taxes for a minute. I guess we got pulled off on security. Sure. Yeah.
So the thing is that I was just using easy right after
Mm-hmm.
But I guess this is the third year that I've actually done it by e-filing rather than paper because of the fraud. The only way I could beat the guy sitting on his couch someplace with my tax return was to open my electronic returns and get them. So I went into doing that, and the process for me actually probably takes at least as long as it would for me to do it. But what I wanted to mention to people may be aware of this is that you can't do your taxes on e-file before the New York State tax website. They contract with companies, one is called OLT online taxes, like taxes or something like that. But the trick is, assuming you're filing federal and state, you got to start at ny.tax.ny.gov.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, 62,000 a year or less. Yeah, that's so the question is always, is this software as good at finding deductions, and what software is better, and would an accountant be even better? And I don't know for sure, but I would always assume that an accountant, especially trained in tax preparation, is going to be able to find all the best deductions. Yep. Here's a website I just found. I don't know how legitimate it is, but they are comparing all of the different tax software. And it looks like they liked TurboTax the best, followed by H&R Block, followed by Tax Act. Never heard of them. Yeah. So hopefully this is an independent website. See, we don't know who sponsored this website. Maybe it was Intuit. efile.com. Express Tax Refund, Free Tax USA. So a lot of this, it's probably just the national ones, not the individual states that would have their own. There's a lot of comments on that article. So if you are looking at getting software, good idea to do some research, see what other people have found, how complex your taxes are. If you have a couple of W-2s or 1099s, you're probably better off going to an accountant. Although my accountant, we've brought a lot of our friends to him. Single Accounting Services on Elm Grove Road, and you can refile your taxes for the past several years. I forget how far back you can go, and 3 years, yep. And he's been able to get a lot of our friends refunds by refiling their taxes. One couple we know, they had been paying every year, and he refiled and got them a refund on top of what they had already paid. By knowing all of the little laws that change, and the laws change every year. So a lot of tax people aren't even ready yet because they haven't had a chance to digest all the new laws. What? Mm-hmm. You don't want to show up at your accountant with a shoebox full of receipts. Nice. Thanks, Lyle. Didn't know about them. There's all kinds of things that AARP does. And I thought it was just discount coffee at Denny's. All right. That's probably about it. Unless we have another question, we'll take our break. Yep. So the question is, he's got an external hard drive, and you can copy files from the drive to the Mac, but you can't copy it from the Mac back to the drive. What likely happened is the external drive is formatted for a Windows computer, and the Mac can happily read Windows hard drives, but it can't necessarily write to them. Most of the time when you buy an external hard drive, it comes pre-formatted for Windows because that's the bigger market. And without realizing it, you may start using it as a Windows hard drive. And there are different Windows formats, and the older format called FAT32, the Mac can write to. The newer format called NTFS, it can't without third-party software. And you'll be able to see, I can't show it here. There'll be a pencil with a slash through it in the window that tells you can't write data to that disk. And if you do, I can do this. If you do on the hard drive, select the hard drive icon, and then go to Get Info from the File menu. One of the things it will do is tell you the format. So this format is Mac OS Extended. You'll probably find that drive is formatted for Windows, which is why it can't write the data to it. So you need to reformat it for Mac using Disk Utility. But when you reformat a disk, it's going to erase everything on it. So copy everything off you want, then you can reformat it for Mac and copy it back. When you buy a disk for Time Machine and you tell Time Machine to back up the data to it, Time Machine will warn you if it needs to erase it or not. But when you plug it in to copy your own files, you may not notice that it's Windows formatted. Alrighty. All right. What time is it? 8:30. We'll take about a 10-15 minute. 10-15 minute break or so.
Yeah. So like maybe around 20 hours, something like that.
Sure.
Sound
Yeah.
good?
Because I know we'll run long anyway. So, and if you want to join or renew your dues, you can see me. Thanks to Shirley out back with the refreshments, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We can do cash check or credit card. No.
I mean, I kind of try to believe this. I think we'll move the camera.
A notepad. Yeah. Bookmark there for you. Excellent. Yep. All right, $30. I need a new reader. All right, it's a new reader business. Yeah. All right, so this is the bad reader. Don't want that anymore. That was round, this one's square. They should be sending us another reader that can do the chip. There you go. Yeah. Alrighty. And you remembered your other questions you said? Mm-hmm. 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 How are you changing the address? Oh, you got your computer.
Sometimes I forget until it fails. It back says it won't work with the server. I come back and edit the message right here. So, there's also a reply to
How do you turn that on?
okay. Just so you can CC, BCC,
Yeah.
do a reply to.
And then put the address you want to reply
correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I was doing this, and yet when it went through, it still saw it coming from Roadrunner. They saw it coming from Roadrunner. Despite the fact that
What's the sending server for that?
well, the Roadrunner account
Go
failed.
to the mail menu and preferences.
Oh, but it's saying yeah. Right.
I know it's.
Well, what should I see there for that?
Let me see what I have.
Yours is coming up with
Yeah. So edit your SMTP server list, and you want to add a server for iCloud. Yeah, but you're not going to know what your server address is. So I'm on server 6. I got another one on server 8. It's supposed to do that for you automatically.
Well, it should have done that when I initially set up my iPad.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this off for a minute. Delete and re-add it, but that will delete all the mail. Well, it will re-download it all from the server.
Actually, I don't have a lot sitting. Well, I do at the moment. So that's fine. Generally, I keep that in. I wanted people to use.
Yeah.
So anything I'm keeping, I that. So when I get that down, remove the account and set it back up in here, then that should fix it.
Yeah. That
Would the outgoing server show on my iPad?
That's for iCloud account. I know they're trying to hide things that you don't need to know and you shouldn't change. Should set itself up to the right. Now, if you had this iCloud, well, if you had a .Mac account and got the me account and then the iCloud account, that can be left over in your
I had an early .me.com. Okay. So this is going to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't have the information I would need here to force that. But if when I have I'm not going to have to download lots of the server. Basically, delete the iCloud account on here and set it back up.
Yeah.
And then see if that will get it correct.
Right. It should then use server. So now that you mentioned that, I have noticed that before. I've noticed it with Gmail too. You send a message through Gmail, it in essence changes the return address to Gmail.
Yes.
Even though you didn't want the return address to Gmail. That's why. So that reply to field should be always acknowledged at the other end by the other end's mail program.
Okay, well, that's at least regular stuff to work with. The mystery to me is,
Mm-hmm.
and yet when I did it on here, it changed. And I never had a problem.
Yep.
And that's because it's
Yeah. Mail is one of those things that once you understand how it works, you're amazed that it works. I need to put in dates. I forgot to put the dates of the meetings. Yeah, I think we have a few. All right, now we have meetings. is that not coming up high def? Yeah, watch the cords there. Good. I don't know. Probably not a bad idea, but knowing what all their privacy settings are, it can be tricky. Or whoever posted that removed it. Which network are you on? CIDER net? It should work. Yeah, run the settings. That's for sure. Yeah. It could be that Facebook is filtered, so you can't get to it. Because it's a school, you may not supposed to use Facebook.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, I'm getting an error trying to get to Facebook. It's a security issue. They're trying to go secure, and the school's not letting it. Yeah. Yep. Yep. You're gonna stand or sit? Okay. All right. Let me re-aim the camera.
Test.
Yeah, no button on it. No.
Always on.
Nice shot of the microphone. Not bad. Although we are getting the microphone. How about? try to put it on top, the little one, sorry, on top of the microphone, toward Todd. So it's high and the, all right, down. A little more. A little more. That's good. All right.
Yeah, try.
Close enough. Except now we're getting the screen behind him. We can have one or the other, but not both. Wearing a tie on your.
That's the last known photo of me and Todd. Yeah. 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, so. Okay. Happy New Year. Ball drop.
Yeah. Alrighty. We have everybody back in that's coming in. Oh, Dennis. Just in time to MC, Dennis. No. You're out there selling Girl Scout cookies, aren't you? And you have your dongle in your pocket. It's a long time. Alrighty, I guess we'll get back going again. We have next up is a CES report from our own Todd Bernhard, proprietor of No Tie Software,
Sure.
contributing editor at Mac Life.
No,
No?
iPhone Life.
iPhone Life, sorry.
We got an email today sent to both people at iPhone Life and Mac Life, but we are not the same entity.
Ah,
You know,
you'd think one would have complained to the other about the name being too similar.
No, nobody owns Life. It's a Time Life.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so let's get started. There are a lot of new folks here I haven't met yet. So my name is Todd Bernhard. My day job is I'm an app developer, and my apps mostly can be found at notie.net. All right, so I have about 100 apps in the App Store, but some of the more popular ones you can find at notie.net. The other thing that I do is I write for iPhone Life magazine. I write a daily blog about news, but I also write product reviews, also in the magazine. So I just went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, as I go every year for about 20 years, in the first week in January. And I got some slides I'll show you, and then I got a ton of stuff as well that I either have to review or have already reviewed. And what you guys think about becoming members, one of the benefits is that in July we have a picnic, and a lot of folks donate stuff, including myself, and we have a silent auction, so you can get some really cool stuff for not a lot of money, but and it all goes to help the organization. So having said that, let's get right into it. Every year people come to me after I come back from CES and say, what was the theme? What was the big deal this year? So recently, 2014, it was the Internet of Things. Smart things, intelligent things. It became cheaper and cheaper to make things with a Bluetooth chip or a Wi-Fi chip, door locks, things like that, making things intelligent. And then last year, 2015, it was the Internet of Weird Things. So because it got so cheap, you could put a chip in a rubber ducky, and so people did that. And there's a thing called Edwin the Duck that is a Internet of Thing rubber ducky. This year, however, the big things were drones and virtual reality. And like Stephen was saying, usually what you see at CES in a year is mainstream. So obviously drones are pretty mainstream, but they're still pretty expensive for anything good, $500 and up. I think that's going to come down. And virtual reality was very popular. So even places like Coldwell Banker, where they're giving out virtual reality goggles made out of cardboard, it's called Google Cardboard, so that you could take a virtual tour of a property without having to go there. It's pretty cool. Okay. So we give out our Best of Show awards, and these are the ones I voted for. The Resound Lynx 2 hearing aid. My mom actually has this, and she uses it, and it's very impressive. Hearing aids are hearing aids, but they made theirs intelligent. It's app enabled, so you have your iPhone. You can say, "I'm in a movie theater. I'm in a concert hall. I'm in a sports arena," and it will adjust based on that. So, you can hear a pin drop now, but in a sports arena, in a big game, that's a completely different sound system. So they have an app, and then if you have an Apple Watch, how many people have an Apple Watch? A couple of us. So if you have an Apple Watch, you can actually control it right from your watch, which is really nice because it's subtle. You don't have to bring your phone out and do some adjustment. But the thing that really wowed me when I was driving my mom in the car, and all of a sudden I noticed she was talking. And I thought, uh-oh, my mom's talking to herself. This is, we've crossed a line here. I got to start thinking about looking after my mom. But she was making a phone call. So the hearing aid can act as a Bluetooth hearing headset. And so she was making a phone call, and I was only hearing her part of the conversation. So it's pretty cool. This is not totally iPhone enabled, but this is the Sphero BB8. This is really cool. Has anybody seen this? All right, so I have the older Sphero model, and now, of course, I want the new one. But so the Sphero, it is a ball that you can control by the app, by an app, and now they came out with one that is inspired by Disney Star Wars BB-8, and has a magnetically attached top, and it stays on, and even while the ball rolls, it always maintains true north. Very cool. But this isn't that new, so CES is about new stuff. What was new was this wristband, a companion device. So you could go like this, and it would move the Sphero, and you could do like this, and it would go in a circle. Really cool stuff. So now, not only do you need to get the Sphero BB-8, you got to get the wristband, and that's coming soon.
So I'm doing that with a Parrot drone too.
Yeah. So Parrot started out doing Bluetooth headsets, so that they were a Bluetooth company. I had a Parrot Bluetooth thing in my car. Yeah. The Plus Us Life Card, I actually have this in my bag there. The biggest thing for me when I go to these trade shows is power, because you don't get to, it's not like when you sit at a desk and you plug your phone in, or, even finding an outlet along the wall. Staying powered up when you're going to a trade show nonstop is a challenge. So what I really liked about the Plus Us Life Card is it's a credit card size charger, about the size of 2 or 3 credit cards, but this one was all metal. A lot of these are cheap plastic. Again, you're worried about safety and stuff. This is nice. It comes in gold, rose gold, or silver. I have the rose gold one, and what's nice is it has the lightning cable built right in, so you don't have to worry about losing it, about remembering to bring it. Very small, portable, and very cool. The M-Juice 3-in-1 case. This one I don't have because it's on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, one of those. But this was really cool. I was in the basement of one of these big auditoriums, and the reception was really poor. So they said, okay, here, watch this. And they showed the phone with like 3 bars. They put it in the case, turned the case on, it went up to 4 or 5 bars. I mean, it's like magic. So what it does is it's called 3-in-1. It's an antenna booster, obviously, but it's powered, so it has its own battery for the boosting capability, but it will also act as a battery for your phone. And it has quick charge capability, so it will charge faster than your Apple cable, than your Apple charger. You can think of it that way, but it's for your cellular, so it's also for voice calls, right? So it's giving you more bars in your phone. So if you're someplace like a trade show where there's tons of people all trying to reach the cell tower and you're not getting enough signal, this will put you ahead of those people. It's not for Wi-Fi. It's boosting the LTE, the cellular signal. It's not helping with Wi-Fi. But of course, you know, if you have Wi-Fi assist, when Wi-Fi is poor, it'll switch over to cellular as well. So,
And
exactly.
yeah, I think someone's trying to form a class action lawsuit against Apple for that, running up their data plan with the feature that when Wi-Fi is weak, it will use cellular.
And that's I've written about that for the magazine. That's because they let that on by default. So Wi-Fi assist was a cool new feature, but it was activated by default. So if you thought, oh, I'm not going to use cellular, I've got a Wi-Fi signal, I got that symbol there, there's no reason to expect to be charged. They turned that on by default with iOS 9. I think they've switched that, but still a lot of people who might be running 9.0, 9.1 don't know that. So there is a class action lawsuit, I think, for that. There's also a class action lawsuit I wrote about today for the Error 53. So the thing Stephen was talking earlier about your fingerprint reader bricking your phone, it actually, that feature was discussed. Apple announced it, said, you know, we're not even going to have access to your fingerprint if we wanted to, because it's at the chip level, and you know, if it gets stolen, it's disabled or whatever. But it wasn't until iOS 9 that the Error 53 bricking turned on. So you could have had that phone repaired by a non-authorized dealer, and you're running iOS 8, and then all you do is a software upgrade, and it bricks your phone. So that's
because then it started checking to see. Yeah.
So that is, you know, I don't like these class action lawsuits necessarily that are, you know, lawyers are the ones who make all the money, but that's something that Apple could control by software, obviously, because it wasn't a problem before. So there may be a case there. Again, power is the big issue, and if you have an Apple Watch like I do, you know, sometimes you have to make this choice. Like, I had 2 charging outlets in my hotel. Well, I can charge my tablet, I can charge my phone, or I can charge my watch. Pick 2 out of 3, right? So the watch is usually what suffers. You go around, and then your watch stops working in the middle of the day. So Griffin is one of the few companies that came out with or introduced, it's not available yet, an Apple Watch charging pad. It's about a keychain sized device that will charge your Apple Watch 4 times. So you could go on a 5-day trip and not have to bring the cable. So that, you know, that's kind of like the magic number. So that was pretty cool. All right, so that's the formal presentation I have. Then I have all this show and tell stuff. So move this. I'm just going to walk through some of the cool stuff that I got that I'll tell you what I've already reviewed and my opinions of it, and then the rest of the stuff I still have to review. I'll start with this. This is my newest phone case. You guys will get a chance to come up here if you don't have a good view. Skinit.com was known for skins, basically stickers that you could put on just about anything, your laptop, your phone, your PlayStation. Custom skins, or you could get like licensed skins like the Avengers and Disney and DC heroes and stuff like that. But this shows you're able to upload your own logo, your own photo, your family, whatever, and have a case made. It's pretty cool. And it's only $5 more than one of the regular cases. So this was $40 instead of $35. Okay? So this is pretty cool. So I don't normally like earbuds because when you take them off, they get tangled. You got to put them in your pocket or you put them in your bag and they get all tangled. You don't know where to put them when you're done. This is a novel approach. You've all heard of wearable technology, right? The Apple Watch is wearable, right? Well, if you think about headphones, were the first really wearable technology. So these guys are called wearable wraps. And when you're not using your earbuds, you wrap them around your wrist, and then they connect to each other, they snap together, and they're made out of really cool materials like leather and wood. So if you weren't looking too closely, you'd think that's just a nice bracelet, you know, all natural. It's pretty cool. And then there's a couple earbuds that happen to be on the end. So it's kind of cute. And those are about 30 bucks. So again, you can take a look at those when you come up here. For those of us with an Apple Watch, or if you think you're going to get one, as I mentioned, one of the big issues is charging your watch or displaying it at night, because it has that nightstand mode and you can hit snooze and have alarms and all that. These guys called Switch Easy have a really cool approach here. It's basically a Lego docking station. So no two are going to be alike. You can use the 92 devices or 92 bricks that come with it, plus your own Lego compatible bricks, and just create your own dock. You know, it's kind of cool. It's cute, and it's only like 20 bucks. I mean, the Lego pieces alone are probably worth it. We've had someone come and talk about cutting the cord, right? Cable TV. So this is, again, not really iPhone related, but this is the Magic Stick TV. So you plug this into your cable box. It's basically like an antenna for getting HD over the air. You know, CW, PBS, obviously NBC, ABC, CBS. So it's basically yeah, like an HD antenna, but it's just it's not like Chromecast or anything. There's no real intelligence here. This is really just, instead of rabbit ears, this is the modern high definition. So you can cut the cord and still get some of these basic channels. Yeah, it's just a coax. Yeah, you can come up and take a look. I'm not sure how much that one is. Maybe you can look that up. But it's Magic Stick TV. Nice thing about it, that's indoor outdoor, so you could plug that into, you know, the outside of your cable. It is not related to Magic Jack. They're probably trying to trade on that. I've met the Magic Jack family of people, but it's not. Yeah. This I'm still in the process of reviewing. I couldn't get it to work, so
25 bucks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to get a good review, but this is called the Command Remote, and it's basically a button. But it's like if you have an older car and you don't have Bluetooth, you don't have Siri or CarPlay integration, this little button will basically act as a Siri button. So your phone could be in your briefcase, in your purse, anywhere in your car, and you just stick this. It's got a double-sided adhesive and Velcro. Stick this on your dash, you push it, and your phone, wherever it is, starts Siri. Yeah. No, it doesn't do anything other than act as a remote control for your push button, your home button. Right, so you still got to be able to talk to your phone, but it's a shortcut. If your phone's in your purse and you just can't get to it. Okay. That's called the Command Remote. But again, I don't know that I would recommend it yet till I get my version working. Pretty technical. If I can't get it working, something's wrong. PhotoFast. So this is a card reader. I've reviewed their other ones. I haven't had a chance to review this one yet. This is, if you have an iPhone, let's say with 16 gig, or an iPad with 16 gig, and you want to watch movies and you just don't have the room, or you want to take photos, or you guys do a lot with music, you don't have the storage space in your iOS device, right? So this plugs into the Lightning port, and what's different about this than the older ones is the other ones I reviewed are like a USB drive. This one is a micro SD card reader. So you could have all your music on a micro SD card, which is cheap, right? You put all that on MP3, you put them on the micro SD card, you can manage it on your Macintosh or PC, you stick it in there, and now all that music or videos or photos or all the above is available to your iPad or your iPhone. And you could swap them out, you know? You could have different genres, you could have a micro SD card for videos, you're on an airplane, that kind of thing. The one thing you got to be aware of, you got to use their app to access the music or the videos, okay? And I found it to be a little slow. So if you're transferring a lot of files, that's going to be a pain, okay? How big is it? Well, it's a micro SD card. So I mean, so you provide your own. They include one 16 gig, but I've got a 64 gig. You know, you can get all the way up to 256 of it. So, and you could have multiple. So really, it's up to you. Yeah, because Android has that built in, right? It has micro SD card reader.
So yeah, not all of them. Some of the higher end Android phones are now not putting the SD card readers, and they don't have removable batteries.
They think they're copying Apple's.
They're copying Apple.
They're copying the one thing that people don't like about Apple is you can't remove the battery or add SD cards, or even the ones that you can add an SD card for. You have to open it up, remove the battery to get to that SD slot, and then obviously you had to turn your phone off to do that. So this just plugs into the Lightning port. Of course, that does keep your Lightning port from charging, so you know you're going to be limited by your battery. Okay. Olloclip, there's been a lot of copycats, but these guys were the first. If you do a lot of photography, but you want to maybe improve the camera, did you see this Tim Cook Super Bowl tweet? I wrote about this. So Tim Cook, was a multimillionaire, who was at the Super Bowl. He took a photo at the end of the game and tweeted it, and everybody gave him a hard time because it was all blurry. Right? You can't do that when you're Tim Cook and you run a whole shot on iPhone campaign, and then you use your iPhone and you tweet a blurry photo. So he got a lot of bad publicity for that. He deleted the tweet today, but he did take another photo where he made sure it was better stabilized and it was nice and crisp and clear. But let's say you take a lot of photos, but you want to do cool stuff. You want to do wide angle lens. You want to do macro. You want to do telephoto. You want to do fisheye. So these are little add-on lenses that you just clamp on over your phone's camera, and they offer these different lenses. So it's pretty cool, pretty easy. It works for photos and for video, which is kind of cool. And even super slow-mo. So ultra wide photo, a few of these, and it's pretty neat.
Of course, the photo still exists on the internet easily.
Yeah.
It looks like he's standing on the field.
You can go to iPhone Life.
Or is he zoomed all the way in, and that's why it's blurry, because he zoomed so far?
No, I think it was the motion. I mean, you're in a stadium and everybody's cheering. You're not stable. You can't take a good photo. This is, anybody have an iPad Pro? The newer iPad Pro? So what's nice about the new iPad Pro is it's got the pencil option. If it's not expensive enough, you can spend another $100 and get a pencil for it. So what do you do with the pencil when you're not using it? So these guys, Remora, came up with this sleeve for the pencil, and it's metal on the back, so it will actually stick to your smart cover case. So this sticks to the back of your iPad Pro's case, and you put your pencil in there, and you know where it is all the time. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But I have I have something I just reviewed from the same company that makes this. I'm going to talk about Mobile Edge. Yeah.
Yes.
So Google Andy Ihnatko's Tactical Pants, and you'll find a neat story about them.
I actually have some Wrangler shorts that have that. They have it's called the Tech Pocket, and I got them at Target. So they might sell long pants as well, but they have a slot just perfect for iPhone 6. So here is the M-Edge Beast. This is a good name for it. So it's very rugged. It's all metal, and it's almost like Star Trek. We were talking about Star Trek. So the cover folds down and folds all the way back, or folds all the way up to cover the front. So you could use it like Captain Kirk, like and so it's kind of cool. But because it's all metal, it also comes with an armband that has a really powerful magnet. So you could stick it there and it's going to stay. It's really strong. The other thing you can do is mount it. It's called a Beast. And this is all part of their fitness line. So in a lot of workout equipment, you put it on the metal workout equipment and it just sticks there. Or you put it on the refrigerator, it just sticks there. Or a file cabinet. So that's pretty cool. I encourage you all, if you don't already, to subscribe to my blog at iPhoneLife.com. But you'll see all this stuff and a lot more.
I found one at Amazon that looks like exactly a gun holster, but for an iPhone.
I wouldn't go through security with that.
I just Googled iPhone shoulder holster.
All right. This was pretty cool for kids. So obviously, we want our kids to be more active. This is kind of like a Kinect little or a Wii remote, okay? But it's a wristband, so it goes on the kid's wrist, and then they play a game on their iPhone or iPad, and it senses their motion, right? And gives them rewards and encourages them for following along. But they don't really think of it as an activity. They're playing a game, so that's kind of cool. It's called the MOFF, MOFF band. That's a Star Wars reference. Swirls, Jen Shanley. Yeah, so this would have been good for her. Yeah. So there's a lady. So I have this other group called App Rochester. We meet once a month, first Tuesday every month, and we talk about apps and app development. So Jen Shanley has an app called Swirls. And Swirls is for girls, and it's like doing cheerleading moves and all kinds of stuff. But there's no way of getting that information back to the app if you did it right. It's just telling you, okay, do this, and then do this, and do this, whatever. But with something like this, you could actually see if they're doing it. There were a lot of companies offering things like this, just a little tag, a Bluetooth-enabled tag that you could put on your luggage, your purse, your cell phone, your briefcase, your laptop case, whatever, and use your phone to track stuff, or even your kid's backpack, track your kids. Exactly similar to Tile. Tile is square, they're circle. Exactly. But it is an important, it's one of those things that, like with Apple, once you get into that ecosystem, you're going to want to stay with it. So I have Tracker, TRACKR, a competitor to this. I don't want to have to use a different app to track my briefcase than I have to use to track my luggage. So they're different ones. So they're all pretty much the same. Find one you like and just get that brand. My recommendation. It's not Apple specific. It might be sold in the Apple Store, but it's not Apple. No, I mean, so they all have apps. They're all pretty much the same. Tile, Tracker. This is Chipolo, but find one you like and then just get that brand. So this is Ticker. Somebody was saying that I guess vowels were too expensive. Right? So this is TICKR, no ER. And this is, I haven't reviewed this yet, but this is just, if you can't justify an Apple Watch to track your fitness, this is just for tracking fitness. Again, a lot like a Fitbit, but with no display, none of the technology, but also none of the expense. Ditto is, if you want to be alerted when something happens, your kids get home from school, okay? Your garage door opens. You decide what you want to be alerted to, and Ditto will alert you. So when you have phone calls, texts, favorites, tether when you go too far from something, or you use something like IFT, if this, then this. So if you have a smart home, I have that. I have a garage door opener that I can be alerted to. I have a front door that's intelligent. I have a video doorbell on my front door, which I installed on Halloween. It was great. I got to see all the kids before they opened the door. I opened the door. So this is just a neat little device. But what's really neat about this, I was talking about batteries earlier. This thing is basically disposable. There's no recharging of this thing. It will last for years, and at that point, there'll probably be something better out. So that's a kind of neat thing to not have to worry about. Some cases. I mentioned a battery M-Juice battery booster. That was kind of cool, but this is almost like the poor man's version. This is called the Reach case. So you want to boost your antenna? You just pull down on the back. Okay. I don't know how effective that's going to be. I will test this for you and let you know. But the idea is that your phone, when it's up here, it's being blocked by your face. So what you're doing is you're making a metallic, a conductive connection from the back of the phone, which is the antenna, and just extending it. Okay. Kind of goofy, but actually this does help amplify your voice and amplify the speaker as well. So it could be useful.
Kind of looks like that phone they used in The Matrix.
Yeah, it's like everything old is new. So again, you can look at this.
A zillion iPad cases?
A zillion. I didn't even bring most of them. It's crazy. But I brought what I thought was cool or different. This one, first of all, it's made in the USA, made in Nebraska, and it's made of corn.
Oh.
Good pun there. It's made of corn. It's called the Eco Cover. It's biodegradable. You know, you get a new phone, doesn't fit this case. Oh well, not a big deal anymore. But it's still quite rugged and durable. And it's made in America. It feels good to the touch. Bright green, kind of cool. Check it out.
Looks like they make doormats too.
I've reviewed a lot of smart home stuff, and everybody has a smart light bulb, right? Philips is the most well-known one. You can change the colors. You can have scenes, so you come home, the lights go on, you wake up to, warm light. You're watching a movie, everything turns sort of blue. This is interesting. It's from Nanoleaf, and the bulbs are black. So everybody else is trying to make bulbs that blend in, that look like normal bulbs, and appeal to the consumer who's just replacing their old bulbs. These guys are going kind of the other direction. They still give off white light, but they look completely different. So it's kind of cool. But they give out a warm white light. Exactly. So these are HomeKit enabled. So we're starting to see HomeKit products. That's Apple's brand of home automation. So you'll be able to use, if you have an Apple TV, and you'll be able to talk to Siri with your Siri remote and say, "Hey Siri, I'm home," and that could command the lighting system. Okay. Two more things, maybe three more things. So my wife does not like to use her cell phone. I know I make a living from cell phones, and my wife doesn't like to use her. But she'll use a Bluetooth headset, or I even have an old-fashioned phone with a long cable. Yeah, that plugs into the 35 millimeter jack. It's one of those things from Radio Shack. It's cute, looks cool, and it keeps the radiation away. But I was really excited to see this. This is the Phone Bud, and the Phone Bud is multi-purpose. This is a battery charger for your phone, which we all agree we all need, right? Don't get enough charge. So anyways, this little battery charger, but it also acts as a headset, but it feels almost like an old-fashioned phone. So your phone can be anywhere 30 feet around, and you use this, and you're using much less radiation because you're only going Bluetooth to Bluetooth. 2.4 gigahertz is just like a cordless phone, and your phone can be, again, somewhere else in the house. So this is called Phone, Phone, Bud. Phone Bud. You can come up and look at all this stuff. So I like that. I'll talk about the bag again. So this bag is from M-Edge, the same people that did the Beast thing that we looked at. It's a great bag, you know. Ostensibly, this is what I carried all my stuff in, right? That's why I brought it. But there is technology here. And somebody asked about it earlier. There's a port here. And it's a USB port. So there's a battery in the bag. So this would be great for going to the gym or just going on a 2-day trip. You charge the bag, and then you plug your devices in, your USB cables into the bag. So that's kind of cool. And it's a great bag. It's got like a waterproof bottom, really good materials, ballistic nylon, lots of zippered compartments. That's pretty cool. Two more things. Anybody have a GoPro or one of those action cams? You've seen them now, GoPro, right? They're $200, $300, $400. Okay. So I always like when I go to these shows to see a low-tech alternative or a low-tech product. And this is called Clip-A-Phone cap. Clip-A-Phone. You take your baseball hat and you clip this to the brim and you put your phone in there. And now you got yourself, I don't know, GoPro would be Go Amateur. Right?
Yeah.
The opposite. Right?
Maybe stop amateur.
So, but you know, if you think about it, you know, most people are not extreme athletes that are like, oh, I want to record when I wingsuit jump off the Eiffel Tower and whatever. So you really you want your hands free. You're hiking, you're walking. You don't want to think about it. So you set your camera to record. You put it in the clip. You put it on your hat, and you're all set. And now everything you see is being recorded. Now this does have some technology. It actually includes there's a free app and it includes a Bluetooth shutter. So while it's on your head, you can say, "Oh, right, now I want to take a photo. I want to start recording video or stop recording video." So, you know, you can use that. So that's pretty cool. And again, this is pretty cheap, I think, in the $20, $30 range. So much more affordable. Plus, if you have a GoPro, when you're all done, then you've got to deal with how do I get that video into my phone or computer to edit or to share. Well, with this, you've been recording it on your phone, so you're all set to share. Okay, the last thing is the virtual reality goggles. So this, again, you can come and look at these. I got these because they're supposed to allow me to wear my glasses. And they do. Hi, everyone. I look stupid, but so there's a lot of action on virtual reality. The way virtual reality works is you stick your phone inside here, and the left side is showing one view, and the right side showing another view. It's a lot like red and blue 3D glasses that we've always been using. So you need special software, special apps, and if you're like me, you want one that accommodates prescription glasses. Google has their own version, the Google Cardboard, which is cheap. New York Times just gave out to all their subscribers a free copy, or a free set of cardboard goggles. So ViewMaster sells one of these, but everybody thinks the ViewMaster one is great, but the problem with the ViewMaster one is you have to hold it. This one does have the head strap, right? So you can let go, you can use a Bluetooth controller to play a game. So these are pretty cool. This is called VR ShineCon. But there were just tons and tons. There was like a whole section, whole booth. Yes. Yeah, so good question. Are there lenses inside? Even the cheap cardboard ones that they give away have lenses because you need that. You can usually adjust them. This does have a dial, but the cardboard ones just don't compete with this. And this was only like $20, you know. So yeah, I mean there's definitely an overlap between expensive cardboard ones and cheap plastic ones where I wouldn't bother with cardboard. You know? Yeah, but this is really poised to be the future, though. This is I was at Digital Hollywood, this trade show in LA.
You can get a stereoscope.
There you go. Right. So I was at Digital Hollywood in LA in October, and all the studios, this is where they're going. You know, to be there's a virtual reality thing from the primaries and the caucuses, so you can watch and immerse yourself as if you're at a caucus, and you can look to the left and you'll get a different view. You look to the right, you get a different view. You get your own personalized experience. I mean, imagine if the Star Wars movie that just came out, you decided what you wanted to look at. It's really some cool stuff. So again, like we say, you saw it at CES this year. Probably by next year and the Christmas after that, these will be a lot more plentiful. Samsung has one for $99. It only works with the Samsung phones and so on. But you can, if you search, I actually bought this. I didn't get this at CES. I bought this for $20 from China. So free shipping. So there's
Yeah, the first one costs $1 million. The second one is $20.
Exactly. So all right, so that's really what I have to show. I would imagine some of this will be at that picnic. So if you saw something you really like, let me know. I'll make sure I bring it. And that's what I have. I'll leave it out, and you guys can look at it when it's done. All right, thank you.
Alrighty. And lastly, let me switch cameras here. We are going to talk about some of the YouTube video grabbers. A lot of people like watching YouTube videos. No, that's the wrong YouTube link. This one. And they want to be able to download those videos to their computer to watch later. It's almost not as big an issue as it was, because ubiquitous Wi-Fi is so popular and so common now that it's easy enough to just stream it again. Oftentimes you may not need to download it. But if you are going offline or on a car trip and you don't want to run up cellular, then having a download of the video is nice. YouTube themselves have a new service called YouTube Red for $10 a month. You get ad-free video. Some people buy it just for that. And also gives you the option of downloading the YouTube videos for offline viewing. So if you're doing a lot of YouTube viewing, don't like the ads, maybe $10 a month is worth it for you, especially for not getting the ads. And then there are some third-party programs available. There's a couple of them that are kind of neat where it's just a website. This was Dennis's favorite one, isn't it? Video Grabby? You first one you found, yeah. Yeah, part of the problems is you search for YouTube Downloader and you're going to find tons of them, and a lot of them are scams and will download software to your computer that may not be what you actually think you're getting, because YouTube downloaders are such a common thing. So this one, you paste a link in, and let me go back to my YouTube video. And I'm going to copy the link here. Just let's see what it does with a live video. So I'm going to paste the link in, and I can download the video, or I can download it as audio. So you can choose whether you want the audio or the video. And so I'm going to hit download video, and we'll see what it does, because this is a really long video. Probably because we're still streaming it. It's not available to be downloaded yet. How about we'll grab last month's? And copy link. And see what happens there. So it lets you download the video, and then you can watch it offline. And there we go, it's downloading. So it's downloading as an MP4. It was H.264, I think. So it's a pretty good quality and fairly small size. So this was 265 megabytes, and that would be, what, an hour and a half, 2 hours of video, just about, from last week's, or last month's meeting video. I will stop that because we don't really need it. So that's a neat way to be able to paste and download. And I guess, as I said, there are programs that you can download to your computer that do it. I this is just one of the first ones I found, YouTubeDownloader.com. I don't know enough about them, about this specific one, and Googling YouTube Downloader finds just so many things. I don't know if I would trust any of them. There is a Firefox plugin for YouTube, where it installs as an extension into Firefox. YouTube video download. Actually, a bunch of those too. Who was the one? Was it Bob? Is Bob still here? Were you the one that had the YouTube the Firefox extension for downloading? Yeah. Yeah. So there's quite a few of them. A lot of people have their own favorites. Ads, yeah. So and that's the problem with a lot of these, is that they throw up. So there's two issues. That they put too many ads up, or they put malicious ads up, and so that's the danger in downloading some of these when you don't know where they're coming from. And even looking for reviews of the best plugins and best downloads are tricky, because a lot of the bad companies write their own reviews on how good their software is. That's sort of they're gaming the system by paying people to write good reviews for bad software. Yeah. One I used to use a lot is called KeepVid. For Keep Video. I don't use it because it needs Java. So Java is a language, programming language, that runs on Mac and Windows and Unix and all the Linuxes. It's a cross-platform environment. So a company can write a program in Java and it runs on any platform. The problem has become that because Java is so powerful, the bad guys can write Java and easily infect your computer. So I've been trying to back off on Java on the web. It's fine to install Java and run like OpenOffice or LibreOffice, but you don't want to give Java access to the web browser, because it's too powerful and too dangerous. So I haven't used KeepVid much anymore, but they have started doing a web-based version. And the one thing I did like about KeepVid is you could choose, can everyone see that? You can choose what quality you want. So you can do a high quality MP4, you can do a cell phone quality, and you know, this is crappy cell phone, not even Apple cell phone. Cell phone quality, or you can do audio only. You can have it put subtitles on it. So it's a nice option to be able to choose what size you want. Some people don't want to have to worry about sizes. They just want it to download the video. And then some videos on YouTube directly will have a download button. So when I bring up a video and oh, it went to my videos again. I don't want my videos. Let's go to somebody else's videos. How about QI? Haven't seen a QI in a while. They were showing on BBC America, but then they stopped. There'll be a download button in the description, but I haven't seen that very often lately, and most companies don't want you to download it. And that's why there's no download option to begin with. Most companies don't want you to download it. They want it streamed, because then they can count how many people are watching it, and they can put ads in it, either a pre-roll or post-roll in the front or in the back, so that you get to see the ads. Because that's kind of the joke in the industry, is that if it wasn't for the commercials, there wouldn't be any television. TV shows are intended to pay for commercials, so it's kind of the way the commercial TV system works, and that's how the internet and websites have sort of come along, in that most of the content we see for free is paid for by ads, but the ads have gotten to be so obtrusive that people are blocking ads, and there's so many malicious ads that people are blocking ads. So the industry has to find a better way to monetize and pay for web services. Anyone else have a favorite YouTube downloader they like? mp3.net. Oh, the letters? Yep. I am in German. Let me get to English. Why am I in German? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. So you insert your video link, and you can change the format you're downloading it to. So let's paste in that video that link and see what we get. So let's say yeah, let's just do an MP3 of it and see what happens. So think, and it will convert it. And now the one thing this does do, which isn't really a problem, this website is seeing the video that you're downloading. Okay, it was on YouTube anyway, so it probably doesn't matter too much. But don't use it for your own private videos. You never know where those private videos may go. So you put your own file name and your own tags on it. Nice. I probably should have picked a smaller file to test with. A 2-hour video is pretty big. So let's back up. I bet they're a German company, and that's why it came up in German first. Alrighty. Anybody else have another one that's they like? And again, I've got too long, so it's going to process the video. And yeah, 90 minutes, that one is. Nice. Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. So as an MP3, it's small and fast to download, and then opens in iTunes. Yep. So it lets you name it again too. Nice. Yeah, for those of us that don't have continuous online internet access all the time. Alrighty, let's wrap up, I guess. All right. So for those of you that still have more questions or can't get enough of your computer fix, Sound Bites, your computer users group of the year, we broadcast Saturdays from 12 to 2 on member-supported Jazz 90.1 FM. We also do a live audio and live video stream of the radio station. It's another one of those, seeing three guys in a radio studio isn't that exciting, but hey, that's and then the Apple Cider Q&A will be actually before that. The iWork study group is at 1 p.m. at Bob Hoy's house, and then at 3 o'clock is the Q&A meeting at the JCC Tech Age Computer Learning Center. And then next Wednesday is our board meeting. Feel free to stop by and see how the club works. You're likely to get nominated for a board position. Show some initiative and get on the board. Actually, getting a directorship is probably one of the easiest things to do because there's no duties involved. You show up and decide things. You have an opinion, yep. So next month, the March 9th meeting will be our elections. We will have the slate of candidates published probably next week. If anyone is interested in running for any office, come see Charlie or any of the other board members and express your interest.
The slate will probably come out in the newsletter,
The emailing, yeah.
Before the March meeting. So you can one of the hard things. You can walk into the March meeting. Remember, take a ballot, vote for yourself. You're going to make it.
You're in, yep. All righty. Any less? All right, that'll do it for us. We'll see you all next month. Thank you.